Welcome to Aging on the Suncoast. I'm your host, Jason Martino. Many seniors face malnutrition or hunger issues on a daily basis. Older adults with limited incomes and homebound make critical decisions on a regular basis when they are faced with purchasing food or covering other expenses such as medications or household necessities. These individuals also face isolation and lack access to food resources such as grocery stores or food pantries due to a lack of transportation. Meals on Wheels America reports that 1.2 million Florida seniors are living alone. 610,000 are threatened by hunger, and 586,000 are living in poverty. The Area Agency on Aging of Pasco and Pinellas partners with organizations that serve seniors within their home and within the community. Without these partners, we could not achieve our mutual vision of promoting independence and better nutrition while we work to eliminate senior hunger. To help us understand what types of resources are available to promote better nutrition and de-isolation, we've invited Anita Frankhauser, the Director of Nutrition with Neighborly Care Network located in Pinellas County, and Diane Cunningham, the Assistant Senior Services Manager with Pasco County Senior Services. During the second half of the show, and in the spirit of volunteer recognition, Anita and Diane will rejoin us so we can celebrate volunteerism and how critical these individuals are to nutrition programs. Diane, welcome back to Aging on the Suncoast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and Anita, this is your first time. We welcome you to Aging on the Suncoast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good, thanks. So let's start with you, Diane. Let's talk a little bit about what Pasco Senior Services is. Who are you?
Well, Pasco Senior Services is a division of Pasco County government, and actually we've been providing meal service to elders in Pasco County for over 40 years. Mm-hmm. And our main focus is, yes, on meals. It would be the congregate meals that you serve at a center in Pasco County and or home delivered meals where you deliver to the homebound person.
Right. And you offer a full cafeteria plan of services.
Yes, we do, in addition to the meals.
What a neat place.
Yeah.
So Anita, you work for Neighborly Care Network. You're the Director of Nutrition over there. Tell us about Neighborly Care Network.
Sure. Neighborly is a private nonprofit organization that's been around since 1966. It got its start with a group of concerned citizens that just wanted to help older adults in the area. They actually laid the groundwork for the first Meals on Wheels and adult day services in our area. Yeah. And since then, we've just continued that legacy. We offer Meals on Wheels, congregate dining, adult day services, and transportation. And with the generous support of the Area Agency on Aging and other donors, we have 7 Meals on Wheels sites and congregate dining sites and 2 adult day centers.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic that when the Older Americans Act came out in 1965, that Neighborly, I think it was Neighborly Senior Services at that time, jumped all over that. Not that I was around in 1965, but they jumped all over that, and they were one of the first providers, I think, in the nation of what they called Meals on Wheels at that time. And I think that's just pretty phenomenal in our backyard that we did that. So we hear terms every once in a while. Our world is full of jargon, and especially in the aging services world. One of the terms that we hear a lot and we use a lot is food insecurity. Diane, what's food insecurity?
Well, generally speaking, it's lack of access to food, but more importantly, it's lack of access to safe, healthy, nutritious food. And that is due to many reasons. You could just have lack of access to food because you don't live near a grocery store that you can get to, and being a frail senior homebound, you're not able to get out and get it. Or you could be in poverty and not be able to afford that food. Or you're just uneducated about healthy food and are not eating the correct foods, and being an elder, your medical problems even become more advanced because you're not eating the right food.
Yeah. So the lack of access is tremendous.
Yes.
It's a hardship over there. Is Pinellas County immune to food insecurity?
Absolutely not. What I've seen with working with clients is that the closest food operation may be a gas station or a fast food restaurant, and a lot of clients have said that they try to stretch the meals we give them to lunch and dinner, which is really not designed to be that way.
It's horrible. And your background is you're a licensed nutritionist. And certainly you know about the special considerations that seniors have to utilize for the foods that they eat. Can you go in depth of what types of considerations seniors think about these days?
Sure, absolutely. digestion or how we process food changes naturally as we age. So a lot of older adults may complain of a decreased appetite or chewing, swallowing problems. That's why as a dietitian I always recommend choosing foods that are comforting to you, that you enjoy eating them, and adding any herbs or sauces that will help make that food more palatable or easier to chew. A lot of older adults also have chronic conditions like diabetes, heart disease, or obesity. And so when I plan our menus for our programs, I try to provide a variety of fruits, vegetables, and lean protein to help complement their therapies when they're at the doctor.
Yeah, and and that's got to be pretty difficult sometimes because you serve a pretty diverse group of people. Yeah. Folks that have to have low sodium, maybe even kosher meals at certain points in time. We're talking about cultural perspectives on here, and you guys do a tremendous job with the amount of food that you put out, but also with the quality of food that you put out there too. So let's talk about that a little bit. Because we mentioned that the Older Americans Act is the major piece of legislation that put forth these nutrition programs, amongst other things. And with the nutrition programs, from what I know and my history of them, is that there's 4 major components. And Diane, I'm going to ask you to speak to 2 of them. So let's talk about what congregate meals looks like in your area. And then obviously, Anita, if you have anything you'd like to chime in that's a little bit different or maybe even alike in Pinellas County, please do.
Yeah. The congregate meals is a place where socialization is promoted. Mm-hmm. And it's for the more mobile elder. Even if they get there by paratransit or regular public transportation, or they live nearby or they drive, it's for the more healthier senior. Mm-hmm. It is not a daycare. It's because there's no supervision for individuals, but it's a place where people can really socialize, meet others the same age. We've even seen marriages in our senior centers.
Get out of here.
Wow. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to summarize, it's more for the independent senior that can get themselves to and fro, or with some assistance from the county, either through public transportation or the paratransit, right?
So they're insured the healthy lunch meal that we provide, plus many activities and that they can enjoy.
Yeah, and they're eating with people of their own cohort.
Correct.
All right. Need anything different in your area with congregate meals?
No, it's pretty much the same way. I think the best thing I see out of congregate meals is the friendships that they forge there, and how they'll say that they wouldn't have met other people otherwise.
Yeah. Any marriages in Pinellas that you know of?
Not coming soon.
I think that's pretty great.
Yeah.
So that's one big program for nutrition. And then certainly you also offer what the world seems to know as Meals on Wheels, but what we affectionately call home-delivered meals.
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about home-delivered meals?
Yes. No, that is for the more homebound senior who's unable to get out to a congregate lunch site. But again, they would enjoy the same nutritious meal that we provide at the congregate site. And these meals are delivered to the homebound person, to their home. Ensuring that they get both the nutrition, but also we provide the nutrition education newsletters, so they're getting education on their healthy eating. And it's a check-in from our home-delivered meal drivers, too, as well, because sometimes the only person they may see besides the mailman is our home delivery driver. Yeah. And it's a safety net for them because they can and do report problems that the senior may be experiencing at the time, and no one else would know about it until the driver reports it back to us.
Yeah, so in addition to a safe, healthy meal, it's an extra set of eyes on that
Yes,
individual.
Absolutely.
And I've heard some pretty horrible stories about what some drivers have found sometimes. And,
yes, yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
It can be said. We found a lady who had been laying in her bathtub for 4 days, and the driver found her just before a holiday weekend and was actually saved her life by finding her there, and no one else would have found her.
Yeah. So that extra set of eyes is extremely important. Anita, anything different in your area on home delivered meals?
No, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
The same, yeah.
I want to point out that most of the time that the delivery of meals is done by volunteers, and something that we're going to go into a little bit later in the second half of the show, and we're going to highlight how important these individuals are to programs like these. So congregate meals, home delivered meals, and there's 2 other big ones, and I'm going to rely on you to fill us in on this, Anita. So to complement congregate meals and also to complement home-delivered meals, we have nutrition counseling. What goes on in nutrition counseling?
Yeah, nutrition counseling is offered to all of our clients at no cost. And as a dietitian, I go into someone's home and meet with them, and we identify a nutrition problem, and then we develop a plan to use food to teach them how food affects them and their condition. And so, for example, I may work with someone who is newly diagnosed with diabetes, and I will teach them strategies and foods that will help them manage their blood sugar.
Yeah, that's pretty darn cool. And if I remember correctly, you also give some correspondence to that person's physician, do you not?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Physicians can give us an order, and we can talk about any diets that they have prescribed to them.
Yeah, and then I also remember this as well, that one thing that I thought was pretty cool is not only did you do an initial workup with the person that you're working with on the counseling, but you would follow up with that person later on to see what kind of good outcomes that came from that. Specifically, one case I remember when that person was diabetic and they were having a hard time managing their diabetes. A lot of times good nutrition can help out with that, so that's pretty incredible that you do that. So you got congregate meals, both you folks provide congregate meals, home delivered meals, nutrition counseling, and then another big one is nutrition education. What's that about, Anita?
Yeah. So throughout the year, we have special nutrition topics of each month that are based on the most common problems that we see in older adults, like iron deficiency or a lack of fiber intake. And so for homebound clients on our Meals on Wheels program, they'll get a handout, patient education material that describes the topic of the month. And for our clients who go to our senior cafes, they can go to a class where we would teach them how to use foods of the month, for example. We offer food demos and food tastes. Our goal with this program is to try to make nutrition education meaningful and engaging.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know that you do nutrition education as well, very similar to how Anita does it in Pinellas County?
Pretty much the same, yes.
Yeah. So let's thank you for that description, and I think our audience has a pretty good picture of that. So Anita, you mentioned the word that counseling was free, and that reminded me that we should talk about eligibility. What's eligibility look like for these programs here?
It's generally speaking for the age 60 or over person. There are different guidelines for both congregate and home delivered. There's no means testing. However, we do have a lot of people who are low income, maybe live in rural areas, lack access to food, and can come to either a congregate site or have home delivered meals. In our area, we do have a lot of rural areas too. We do encourage donations toward the cost of the meal because that helps feed more people.
Sure.
With that extra income in the program.
Yeah, that's definitely a good encouragement.
But otherwise, it doesn't cost anything to the senior.
Yeah. And anything else, Anita, that eligibility on your side of things?
No, it's pretty much the same thing.
Pretty much
just 60 and older.
Yeah.
For Meals on Wheels, they have to be homebound.
Yeah.
There are some exceptions to that rule, but
Yeah.
Is it safe for me to say that because there's a massive need for food and then obviously the funding that goes into it is not enough, that there may be some wait lists for things?
yeah.
Yeah.
In Pasco, we have well over 500 people waiting for home delivered meals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Pinellas, it's almost 1,000.
Oh my word. Yeah. But we're also doing some pretty cool things in Pinellas and Pasco County to try to offset that wait list and do things on the side, being innovative, and you're a big part of that team, Anita, and we appreciate your help with that. We have about a minute left, and I wanted to talk about some of the cool things that you all are doing in your counties. And I know that you're doing one. You work very hard to get your own kitchen within Land O'Lakes. You want to speak to that real quick?
Yes. We opened up the kitchen last year. We put we provide all the overhead, all the kitchen equipment, and we put it out for bid for a vendor to make the food in our kitchen, and we pay for the food with our Older Americans Act funding and some local state and county funding as well. But it's a brand new kitchen, and it's local, and the food doesn't have to travel as far as it used to travel, and it stays, the integrity of the food it has improved greatly since we've had our own kitchen.
That's really great. You guys are very innovative on that approach, and I'm glad you got help from the state and all the local folks out there. Big advocates in your area. How about you?
We're doing a lot of exciting things at our new senior cafes. We're modernizing the look and feel. As people, there's a saying that people eat with their eyes, so we're wanting to update our offerings there. And we're also improving our programming. So we're bringing licensed fitness instructors and new presenters at the sites.
That's awesome. I'm so happy that you ladies have come on the show. You're going to come back, obviously, for a second half where we're gonna dabble into volunteerism, and so hang tight. Please stay with us while we take a short break. As usual, don't forget to have your pen or pencil ready. During the break and at the end of our show, we'll be running contact information for Pasco County Senior Services, Neighborly Care Network, and the Helpline.
James is 70 and a writer whose joint pain has been a story in itself. His doctor prescribed a new medication that may not be affordable, even with James's Medicare Part D plan. James called Shine. Shine volunteer counselors can guide you to money-saving prescription assistance programs, including a program that helps pay Medicare Part D plan costs for limited-income seniors. Shine costs nothing but could save you time and money. More information is available at 1-800-963-5337.
Welcome back to Aging on the Suncoast. During the first half of the show, Anita Frankheiser and Diane Cunningham helped us understand who their agencies are and how they promote better nutrition for Pasco and Pinellas County seniors. Let's move forward by bringing Anita and Diane back so we can speak in depth to volunteerism and how critical this is within the senior nutrition programs. Diane, welcome back to the second half.
Thank you, Jason.
You too, Anita.
Thank you.
All right, so Anita, I'm going to start with you. We spoke just really lightly during the first segment of the usage of volunteers for home-delivered meals, but obviously volunteers are a necessity here. So why do we need volunteers for these programs?
Volunteers are everything to our program. They are that extra set of eyes and ears in the community on our clients, and they provide that human touch to our services. But really, bottom line, the more volunteers we have, the more people we can serve. And I also think that there's something to be said about the quality and attention to detail that people provide when they're just giving their time freely.
Yeah, and volunteers come from all walks of life, and they bring a tremendous amount of skill sets to the table, and it's your job really to kind of look into those skill sets and kind of figure out what's the best placement for them. We're going to go into that in a little bit. So what should a volunteer be thinking about if they want to engage in some of your programs?
I think the first thing you should ask yourself is, what are you passionate about? Do you want to work with seniors in your area? And are you interested in nutrition or hunger issues? And then the second thing I would say is to think about how much time you can consistently give. Because as you work with our clients, you develop a relationship with them, and you can become each other's lifeline.
Yeah, and that's an important thing that you just said, is that many times our volunteers are seniors themselves, and they are the same cohort as the people that they're helping to serve at that time. I think there's also something to be said about the what you brought up is understanding the organization's mission and values is important as well. And you said it yourself, that they should understand, or they should have a drive to want to work with the nutrition programs on there. So going back to what I said a little bit earlier, I didn't want to jump into it too fast, but what type of an individual generally is a volunteer in your world? Well,
they could come in all ages. We've had volunteers as young as 14, 15 years old, all the way up to, I've had unfortunately she just passed away within the last year, a 104-year-old who was volunteering. Huh? Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah. So they do come in all different backgrounds. What we try to do is interview the volunteer just as you would interview them for any job in the organization, and try to match up their talents and their skills to the volunteer opportunity that we have out there, so that wherever we put them, they're going to excel. And usually those people are getting more out of volunteering than they're giving, because they feel so rewarded in that position. Mm-hmm. So while we're talking about types of volunteers and different types of individuals, I remember from a long time ago, and I'm really not sure if you still do it again, but you don't just have seniors as volunteers, that you really dip into the corporate world, into the for-profits, to see if they want to give back and pay it forward. Is that still true? Yeah, we still have volunteers from the Tampa Bay Rays who will deliver a route, and up until recently we had people from Publix also delivering a route. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think you were working with Jabil, a pretty large employer in this area, maybe even Tech Data at one point in time. And I remember in my days working in nutrition programs, I see all these younger people in there. I go, well, this doesn't seem normal to the normal demographic that's here. And so proud of y'all for dipping into that population and doing it. Does Pasco work with any of the corporate entities over there?
Yeah, not so much a corporate, different entities. We do have, we partner with Cindy's Pets, who provide pet food to our clients who are home delivered meals, because we found out that people who have pets were giving half of their meal to their pets and half to themselves. So this allows them to eat their meal, their nutritious meal, and have the pet get some food as well. And we do partner with ARC, which are disabled adults, and it benefits them as much as it benefits for us, and they help serve in our congregate sites. They even go out on home delivery to deliver to to routes. They may not have a job, and this is something that really is meaningful and purposeful for them, but it helps serve our clients as well.
Yeah, I love the story about Cindy's Pets. I remember when all that came together, and Anita even brought it up earlier about the fact that people were taking little bits of their food and to feed their pets because they were low income and they didn't have money to balance it out in that. Let's get specific. So for your congregate meal program, how do you utilize volunteers for that program?
Well, I like to say that if you want to help, there's really any position at Neighborly that we can match you with. We have volunteers who just want to roll silverware, or for example, Bobby, who loves to call bingo. There are volunteers who are like a jack of all trades, and they'll just pitch in wherever they need help at the sites, whether it's serving meals or cleaning tables.
Yeah, I think you said it best. They just want to help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How about for you in your congregate meal program?
It's basically the same. We have a lot of people who help out in the kitchen, people who like to serve, people who like to clean up. We have greeters, we have instructors for our different activities, receptionists, people who do work in the office and help do the database. Depending on where their skill is, we just try to employ them wherever there is a need.
Yeah, and for your home delivered meal program?
Yeah, and then you have volunteers who deliver those meals. Again, some of our volunteers do more than just deliver a meal. They will also do some friendly visiting with the person, and a lot of these people who have home delivered meals are isolated and do not have many family or friend contact, and they will spend some time with the senior.
Yeah. How about you? Anything different or alike in Pinellas County for home delivered meals?
It's pretty much the same. Our volunteers provide a friendly face to the homebound clients, and like I'm just thinking about one of our volunteers, Bruce. He's there almost every day of the week helping to pack meals, and then he'll drive one, sometimes two routes multiple times a week.
Get out of here. Bruce sounds like a pretty cool person. Yeah, he's really putting a lot in, dedicating himself to your agencies on there. All right. So obviously they're a tremendous help. What kind of let's define what that impact is for your agencies and how volunteers play it. Diane, you want to start?
Well, as you know, and you mentioned previously, due to there's just so much funding available, so there's a lot of need there where we just can't pay to fill that need. And these volunteers probably save around, in Pasco County anyway, about $50,000 a year that we don't have to pay out in salary. They pay out in kind.
Yeah.
And that's a tremendous help to us.
Yeah, no doubt. They, I think the nation even has data, and they equate it to a monetary value. I think it's something like $28 per hour. They kind of worked it out to be, and then obviously you use that for match and everything else in there. How about the impact on your organization with volunteers? Because you have a pretty robust organization as well, where you not only just use it for nutrition services, that you do a lot of different things over there.
Yeah, we have quite a few volunteers, almost 500 volunteers that help out across the county. In the past years, volunteer time has equated to almost $1 million in manpower. So volunteers are our organization, and a lot of people would go hungry if we didn't have as many volunteers as we do.
$1 million, that's phenomenal. Yeah, you said what, 500,000, 50,000? Which one?
I think I misquoted. It's 500,000.
Either way, it could probably be $5. It's still a benefit to your
Yes.
agency, and they make a
Yes.
tremendous impact too with that.
And it also helps the volunteer. I mean,
was
I've
gonna-
read studies that
I was going to ask you about that they have to
volunteers
have an impact of hopefully
actually
positivity.
live longer and healthier lives when they're able to contribute to the community like
Yeah.
that. I've read that. I
Yeah.
don't know the statistics, but
What do you know, Anita? Anything about the positivity on the side of the volunteer for doing the work that they do with your agency?
Volunteers come to us because they want to help others, but then they end up staying because volunteering actually helps them. Like you were saying, they stay engaged in the community and they get a sense of fulfillment by helping others.
Yeah, and I have to imagine that certain volunteers, some volunteers, are also living alone and looking for opportunities to engage.
yes.
So while they might be at a home-delivered meal client's house, and that person is isolated because they're homebound, you have two kind of isolated people talking to each other and might even start a relationship, or in the congregate meal setting and that. Let's talk about what current needs that you have for volunteers at Pasco County.
Our larger need would be for home delivery. We have a lot of senior citizens who are participating in the program anyway, and they do help out, and they are volunteers. But depending on the economy too, and the price of gas, they do get some mileage reimbursement, but when the price of gas is higher, the lack of volunteers, we need those people to come out and kind of do this without the reimbursement that matches the gas price.
You need help.
Yeah.
Right, and so if I heard you correctly, you need help more on the home-delivered meal
Yes.
side, but if someone has a skill set and...
We never say no to a volunteer.
Yeah. How about you, Anita?
Yeah, we can never have too many volunteers. There's always a need to
Yes.
deliver meals or even help out in administration doing data entry or some of our outreach opportunities.
Yeah, and our agency also utilizes volunteers, not to the capacity that you all do, but we appreciate everything about them. Our SHINE program is probably our leading one with
Yes.
volunteers, and they do a tremendous job.
They do.
And speaking of that, then we acknowledge them. In the month of April, around the nation, it's National Volunteer Recognition Month. And so we do a lot of different activities to remind them how important that they are, and not just within that month, but throughout the year. I imagine you all do similar things.
We just had our appreciation luncheon, and we honored 300 or so people who give their time and energy to our agency, and we're really appreciative of them.
That's dynamite. 300 volunteers getting appreciated. How about you, Anita?
Well, I think the gratitude that we show our volunteers is nothing compared to the gratitude that our clients show our volunteers each and every day.
Yeah.
But throughout the year, we try to give them treats as well, and then we also have an annual luncheon.
Yeah. I really want to thank you ladies for coming on the show. Diane, welcome back to the show.
Much.
Anita, for the first time, y'all did wonderful. You really expressed how important these nutrition programs are, and then for the folks that help you serve these things. I would also be remiss because a little bird once told me that you'd probably be retiring at the end of this year here, and I want to let you know personally that I've enjoyed every day working with you.
Thank you, Jason.
And
I've enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, and I hope you feel prideful for the tremendous things that you've done for seniors within Pasco County.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right,
Thank
thanks for
you.
coming back to our show.
Yep.
We hope this month's broadcast was informative. We wouldn't have these resources without great organizations like Neighborly Care Network and Pasco County Senior Services. We also can't thank volunteers enough for everything they do each and every day. We'll see you next month, and until then, please make every use of the organizations we showcase today.
James is 70 and a writer whose joint pain has been a story in itself. His doctor prescribed a new medication that may not be affordable, even with James's Medicare Part D plan. James called SHINE. SHINE volunteer counselors can guide you to money-saving prescription assistance programs, including a program that helps pay Medicare Part D plan costs for limited-income seniors. SHINE costs nothing but could save you time and money. More information is available at 1-800-963-5337.